Hello, hello, hola amigos, hola, hola, bienvenidos, be welcome to Lima. Hi everyone, hello, hi Sayuri, hola, hola. Hi Monica, hi Caroline, hello, hello, hi Michaela. Thank you so much for visiting Lima today in this beautiful fall afternoon. Today has been a little rough with me and my first tour. The internet connection was not good, or maybe something with the platform. And I've been crossing my fingers for this tour, this second and last tour of the day, be wonderful, be, like excellent. So I really hope everything goes as planned. And if you were in my first tour, well, thanks so much for coming to the first one. It was about the Chinese immigration to Peru from the Chinatown, the oldest Chinatown in South America. And I promise to bring it back soon again. See? So, in this occasion, this second tour is about the colonial treasures of Lima, and also explaining about the UNESCO heritage we have here in the city, the historic center. Gracias, Caroline. Gracias, Larry. Yes, so far so good. And well, today we are going to have the chance of seeing the oldest part of Lima. So it is very important that you have the best internet from me, actually, the best image also from my end. So well, we are going to start in a couple of more seconds. And before we do it, let me formally introduce myself. Hello, hello, my friends. Hola. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City guide. Always happy to show you the off the beaten path destinations, the hidden gems, and tell you also the untold history of my country. I am part also of a team of guides in Latin America. We very good friends, actually. Sayuri, we have also Kelly, we have Elizabeth, we have Steffi, we have Marcela, so many wonderful guys. Grace also, Fabian in Argentina as well. Renan, Mike. So we are a team of guys that are trying to show you the best of our cities. And we want you to come here also in person if it's possible. And we want also you to feel as if you were walking with us by our side during these tours that we are doing for you especially. So virtual tourism has become an alternative for you to learn from around the world, and also for us tour guides to show you our culture, our history, our cities. So what a wonderful thing. Also, well, virtual tourism is not always easy, it's not always perfect. So that's why sometimes we have to deal with the technical issues, etc. But we're always here to learn every day something new, and also to, well, continue learning from other colleagues from around the world. We are always learning. So if you have a question, don't be shy. Please use the comment tool we have here, which is a wonderful thing Hego has created for all of us to keep in communication, for us guys to hear about your thoughts, about your impressions, to read your impressions. And also in that way, we can answer all your questions. Also, don't be shy, please. Today, we're going to talk about the UNESCO heritage we have here in Lima, the historic center. We're going to talk about what is UNESCO heritage. If you did not know what it was, maybe you've heard that this place is UNESCO heritage, that one is a UNESCO heritage, but maybe you don't know about what it really is. So today I'm going to tell you also what is a UNESCO site and why these places are so important. Also, this tour is the second one of the day dedicated to a UNESCO site. The first one was made by my colleague Sayuri. So we are trying to do collaboration tours in different parts of South America. So stay tuned with all the upcoming tours we all are uploading for you. So hi Eunice, thanks for coming. Thank you from Pittsburgh. Thank you so much. Well, I am here in Lima, Peru. By the way, I'm using my Chinese hat because That's the one I use today for my Chinatown tour. And it's a very sunny day today. Look at that. Oh, it's very, very sunny. So we're going to have a nice walk in the historic center for approximately 45 minutes. This is going to be a 45-minute tour, more or less. And if you are ready, I am ready to start. So give me a thumbs up or a heart or any reaction you have handy. So in that way, I know you're there still. I am, by the way, using the old app. So, so I need to know to have your reactions to know if you are there. So Elizabeth lived in Lima for 35 years. Oh, really? Oh, that's wonderful. So you know better Lima than me. I am just 15 years old. No, I'm kidding. So, okay, let's start with this beautiful tour. And vámonos. So look at this starting point that I've chosen for you all. This is a part of Lima that if you were here, for example, 15 years ago, you would not be able to see because it's sort of like newly inaugurated. So this section, I will not go too far away in that direction because the internet is not the best far away because we have the mountains. But look at this view. We have the foothills of the Andes right here. Peru is a country of coast, Andes, and jungle, the Amazon. And what you're seeing in the distance are the foothills of the Andes. And there you have a zone that is known as the first shanty town of Lima. The shanty towns, we call them pueblos jóvenes, are located on the hillsides of the city. There is where the low-income people live nowadays, in the hills. I know that for many of my friends living in North America, especially, living in the hills means that you are super rich. In Peru and Latin America, living in the hills means that you are poor. This community was created around the 1940s, time of a mass immigration from the Andes towards the coast, towards Lima especially, because back then there was a big development of different factories in Lima especially. So people that were usually into the agriculture in the Andes were not educated people. Many of them were even illiterate people, migrated to Lima looking for opportunities and for education, but not for them, for the kids, right? So the community that you see over there, which is located in the foot section of the hill San Cristobal. San Cristobal Hill is 500 meters high, 500 meters tall, is the closest one to the historic center. So we have also a river over here, Rimac River. And next we have the old town. This is the historic center of Lima, the entrance into the historic center. What is the hill name, Gul? Yes, it's San Cristobal, Gul, or Saint Christopher in English. San Cristobal. San Cristobal is the saint of the travelers. And it was named that hill after Saint Christopher by Francisco Pizarro. Oh, no worries, girl. Thank you, thank you. Yes, Monica, San Cristobal, right? So we have over here, thank you, Monica. We have here San Diego. Yes, we need to find a San Diego somewhere, right? We have over here some traces of the original wall that used to protect the historic center of Lima back in the colonial times, a wall that extended for approximately 13 kilometers around the historic center of Lima. So this was the first protector of the city against pirates and corsarios, or privateers is how you would call them. Lima City is a coast city, and because of its close location to the ocean, it made it an easy blank for attacks from the ocean, from the sea. So this is why the wall was so important, and the wall and also all the precious buildings inside this wall area are nowadays protected by UNESCO. We're going to go in detail about this a little bit later in the tour. So the material used to build this wall is what we call in Spanish cal y canto. Cal y canto. Calicanto is a cement-like material that was used in the colonies of Spain since the arrival of the conquistadors in the 16th century to build for example, bridges, and also to build the foundations of churches, right? Vanessa, are you standing inside of the wall right now? No, no, my dear. I am standing on top of this bridge. This is a wooden bridge that was made to give a good, let's say, perspective of the wall, and is quite elevated. It's about 5 meters high, and is on top of this monument, which you're going to find. Hi, Massimiliano. Thank you so much for coming from Italy. Wow, wow. Thank you so much. I hope you love the Lima, by the way, Massimiliano, after this tour. Oh, you have to come anytime. We're waiting for you. So look at this gentleman over here. The bridge was meant to be high, quite tall, in order to give you a perspective from this monument, which used to be originally in the main square of Lima. I'm going to tell you later where exactly it used to be. So can you guess the name of this character, of this personality? Well, let me give you, let's say, a clue. He was a conquistador. Who can tell me who was this gentleman? Don't be shy, please. Just comment. We are here in a friend environment, so don't be shy. Okay, Elizabeth comments, Francisco Pizarro, Eunice Pizarro. Muy bien, bravo, bravo. Are you using Google? So yes, my dears, this is Francisco Pizarro, the conquistador. Pizarro, the man who created the city of Lima, the one who decided that this land, located pretty much on a desert territory, would become the capital of the Spanish colony in this part of the world, right? So Pizarro's statue is here for various reasons. Originally, it was next to the main square of Lima at the entrance of the cathedral. Then it changed location next to the government palace, and now is here a little bit hidden. And you know why? Well, it's happening around the world. It's happening also with the founding fathers in the United States. It's happening with Cortez in Mexico. There is a sort of like intention of rewriting history. I am really against that. History is what happened. You cannot change it. But of course, there's people that prefer to not commemorate the memoir of the conquistadors, as you know, in a way that will give you a wrong impression, as if we believe they were heroes, right? So they are part of the foundation, of course, of the country. Without them, we wouldn't be the countries we are. But also, many atrocities happened during the time of the conquest. So what nowadays the new perspective about history is that conquistadors will not be in the center of the cities, because this country is a country of indigenous too. It's a country of Quechuas, of Aymaras, right? Of people that were conquered and killed by the conquistadors. So that's why we are moving, in some cases, statues from conquerors to other locations. Nowadays, Pizarro is no longer in the main square of Lima, and these are the reasons why, of course. So here we have a interesting construction, which was discovered when this section, which used to be a land that had lots of houses. All of this section had old colonial houses until the early 2000s, and these houses were all squatted. So the original families who built these houses, the families who were very rich in the colonial times, who lived in houses that were sort of like mansions of that period, the 16th, 17th century, they were no longer living here in the early 2000s. Well, there is a long story that I'm going to try to make it short in a while. I'm going into in detail into this story in some 4 minutes. But I wanted you to imagine that there used to be a series of houses over here, actually on top of a big layer of land that was pretty much at this level, at the level of the floor you see over here. So we had lots of houses here, all houses, and this was a very, very dangerous part of the historic center of Lima. very dangerous. It was very dirty as well. There were many low-income families living here. So the projects to make this place a touristic destination and safe for all visitors were difficult to be fulfilled completely with the presence of a shanty town right here in the city center. So this is why the process of gentrification started, and this was also thanks to this new classification we received, which this recognition of UNESCO. So when the project started to clean this part, the families were relocated to in different parts of the city. So these old houses were removed. What the archaeologists discovered was this, right? A old house, vivienda is a house that was located very close to the wall of Lima. So the archaeologists were able to find the oldest traces of the architecture of Lima from the 16th, 17th century. Like, for example, this house, which is this one here, the one you're seeing in this section. And also, next to this house, the old wall of Lima. So the material in the house you see here is a combination of mud bricks. So this is an old house that even had painting. You can see here the painting on the wall, right? And you can see over here next to the house, the old, this is original by the way, the old cobblestone that used to connect to the upper part of the streets, because Lima's original level in the colonial times was lower, about 1 meter deeper in some parts of Lima. And this was the pathway to the river, right? So here is the wall. There used to be an entrance to, or on an exit, small exit for fishermen, and after that the river, right? So this was the way how the fishermen, how the people that needed to go to the river used to go without using the main gates of the city, which in total were 9 gates, but these gates were for taxation purposes. So were the colonial houses on top? Yes, Ginny. So but remember, the city, any city in the world that grows over the time, right? Or most of the cases, the colonial cities usually are below, right? It happens also in Rome. It happened also, for example, well, on other cities in Italy. I'm sure most of you that have been able to go to places like Rome or Italy, you've been able to see that the archaeological constructions are below the level where we live, right? So this is the same case here. We are seeing an evidence of an old colonial house discovered recently, right? Any idea how long the wall was originally? Yes, Michaela, the wall of Lima was 13 kilometers long. We even have some old plans of the city. I think I have a picture I will show you just in a little while. We will continue walking and I will show you in some few more minutes the picture of the historic center and the wall and how the wall used to be, okay? So we will now continue because I want to show you more. This tour is about the UNESCO heritage area of Lima. Peru has several UNESCO sites. By the way, we are very proud to say that we have 13 UNESCO places in Peru. Lima, the historic center of Lima, is one of them, but we have also several more. For example, the historic center of Cusco, where my friend Mike does beautiful tours, not just of Cusco, also different parts around Cusco, even Puno. So he is a wonderful multitasking guide. So the historic center of Cusco is UNESCO. We also have all the sites, like for example, Chavin de Huántar. We have several national parks. We have the Nazca lines, for example. They are UNESCO as well. We have Cuelap, which is a wonderful place in a zone that is pretty much like the jungle. It looks like Machu Picchu. And well, several other. Even the Inca Trail is considered protected by UNESCO. So, by the way, this section over here that you see is in process of restoration. We are doing lots of restorations in downtown Lima that started during the time of the pandemic. Before the pandemic, well, there were always excuses like, the traffic is bad, we have to be more worried in protests. But during the pandemic, there was no protests, there was no traffic. So that's the moment when the City Hall of Lima started to restore. And this section is the back part, the backside of the Church of the Franciscans and the Monastery of the Franciscans. We're going to see this from the front. The back part is in restoration process. And this part in particular was damaged by a fire. We had a really, really bad fire in 2005. I remember being a tour guide back then. And, I was starting, to practice in this museum actually, and a fire started here in this chapel. So we're going to move a little bit forward to give you a better view of the chapel. I got in a trap here. I cannot keep going. So several of us are so glad that Mike is back. Yes, Mary. Yeah, but Mike is nowadays a proud daddy, so he has also some duties to fulfill with his little one, his little princess, and I'm so happy that he's back. But I totally understand that he had to take a sabbatic, so we miss him a lot. And I think Mike is going to be doing some tours very soon next week, and the 4th so far I remember. So stay tuned. If you don't know Mike, Mike is a wonderful guy we have in Cusco. He does tours to Machu Picchu, which are the best. So here we have the Church of Our Madam of the Solitude. Our Church of the Madam of the Solitude, or the Loneliness, is one of the chapels located next to the Church of the Franciscans. So have you heard about the Franciscan order, my friends? Do you know, or have you heard about the Franciscans before? When we talk about the Franciscans, by the way, in Peru, we immediately think about this very important religious order. Caroline, yes, a little bit. Monica, yes, yes, Noreen, exactly. My friends, for example, from California, they know and they realize how important the Franciscans were in that zone, because most of the cities created there in the colonial times or in the old periods were missions of the Franciscans. The Franciscans had traveled the world. The Franciscans went to Asia, for example. They went to evangelize, right, in the colonial period, in the 17th century especially. And here in Peru, they traveled to different destinations, to the jungle especially, and the Andes. So the Franciscans had let's say, big power in Peru, as well as they had in different parts of the world. And well, let's say I cannot judge, like, from my perspective, if their missionary work was good or bad, because I am more inclined to the archaeology and to the preservation of the local cultures. But indeed, you cannot talk about a Peruvian without the Catholic influence, right? So Peruvians, most Peruvians are Catholic, right? And the reason of this successful assimilation into the Catholic religion is in part because of the work of the religious orders such as the Franciscan, Dominican, and Jesuit. What is the church called? Oh, the church is called Nuestra Señora de la Soledad, or Our Lady of the Solitude, or the Lady of the Loneliness. Well, I'm trying to find a literal translation. The Lady of the Solitude, the Loneliness, is Virgin Mary. Mm-hmm. This is the Church of the Franciscans, my dear friends. Oh, no worries, go. Are they trying to rebuild the original buildings? Yes, exactly, Michaela. This is a restoration. Actually, not just the facade of the church is in process of being cleaned and restored. In my previous tours, if you've been before, like last year with me, and we usually ended our tour here, we used to have a wall around the church. There's no wall anymore, my dear friends. It's gone. In just few months, it was made a decision of removing the wall, because in the colonial times, originally, we did not have a wall. So the wall was a Republican addition. The Republican period is after the independence. Therefore, the city hall decided to, like, sticking to the original, like, the youth of the city, design of the city, to remove the wall. So this is the idea. This is how the church is going to end up. This is the colors we're going to be choosing also. And all of this work you see here, this restoration, this process of, let's say, gaining back this beautiful building to the citizens. I'm going to be moving a little bit forward to give you a better angle. It is a work in cooperation first with UNESCO. We cannot forget to mention UNESCO in this case. And then Pro Lima. Pro Lima is an institution that is run by the City Hall of Lima with their own money. The money of the city is rebuilding, restoring different monumental zones. But Pro Lima would not be able to do the work they are doing without UNESCO, or the effort of UNESCO. So what is UNESCO? UNESCO is the United Nations United Nations organization for the education, the science, and the culture. And UNESCO's sites started to be, let's say, chosen or elected or protected since after the Second World War, in the year 1945. Maybe you remember the terrible case of the bombarding of Warsaw, for example. My husband is part Polish, and my father-in-law reminds me always about the destruction of Warsaw and how, well, Warsaw is nowadays basically a replica of the original city that was destroyed during the Second World War. So United Nations tried that these terrible situations would not happen again anywhere around the world. And this is why Lima City, which is a historic place, a place of many interesting events. So many things had happened here, but also the architecture is a constant reminder of those events. So UNESCO tries to protect places like this one around the world. This is why downtown Lima is a UNESCO site. By the way, this building you see here, this is also part of the complex of the Franciscans. This is the entrance into the convent of the Franciscans, the actual house of the monks, which used to be a school for missionaries. Missionaries from Spain used to come in the colonial times to be formed here in this school, to be prepared to become messengers of the word of God that will go to different parts of Peru. Even here, they learn about Quechua, Aymara, and different native languages. So in that way, they would communicate with the indigenous. So the Church of the Franciscans started to be built in the year 1540, and the one you see nowadays here, this church that you are seeing in this moment, this one here, is from the year 1672, but it has been modified consecutively because of the earthquakes, right? The monastery is no longer the school of the missionaries because we have just few Franciscans, less than 20 Franciscans living in the monastery. That's very unfortunate, but it is because the congregation is aging. This is more a retirement house for them. So instead of, like having an huge empty house, they decided to open a museum. Nowadays, this is the Museum of the Franciscan Order. When we get in, we can visit different places, their library, the famous catacombs of the Franciscans, first cemetery of Lima, etc. But of course, this place has there are limitations, so we cannot film, we cannot video, we cannot make pictures inside. So I invite you to come to Lima and visit, of course, this place while you're touring here. We are walking over passages of the catacombs. Below the atrium of the church, we have several of these passages that we only can penetrate when we get into the museum. Here you can see also some pictures of the library, for example, and some beautiful furnishing from inside. So why this place is important for our story? The first UNESCO site we had in Lima was the Church of the Franciscans. Yes, believe it or not, the first place that received this classification of UNESCO in Lima was not the historic center, was the Church of the Franciscans in 1989. 2 years before, downtown Lima became a UNESCO site. In total, UNESCO had invested a large sum of money in Lima, in different projects. The project of the restoration of the Church of St. Francis, that became UNESCO site in 1989. That project got 20,000 US dollars. 20,000 US dollars were invested from UNESCO in the restoration of the Church of the Franciscans, the Convent of the Franciscans. And the idea was that UNESCO will give away that money with no intention of being refunded, but also as an initiative to create this museum, and this museum to be self-sustained, right? So this is what UNESCO wants. UNESCO don't want to give you like yearly money, like for you to always receive this money. No, the idea is that they will give you first an initial amount of money. You will invest it in a project. You have to propose a project, or they can work with you on a project. And after that, well, you are free, right? You are free to go. And the idea is that you will create a sustainable product. You should do a tour of the church inside. Yes, well, Elizabeth, I would love to. Remember that some churches don't permit any videos, any cameras, nothing inside. So that's the case of that one. But I am in conversation with another monastery of the Franciscans in a different location, and we are planning very soon to do virtual tours inside. So if you wish to join that upcoming tour, which I haven't put it yet, but it's going to be soon, follow my channel, my Heygo channel. If you see in the upper part a button that says follow, please click there later if you wish, and you will be seeing all my upcoming tours. See, so that would be lovely. So now I'm going to stand here for explain the. Oh yes, Elisa, you read my mind. So I'm going to explain about the balconies. And my husband has also got into the tour to answer questions in my name, Vanessa Heygo Lima Guide. So if you have questions, also my husband might also be answering. So look at this balcony here. This is the Republican style balconies. We have different kinds of balconies in the historic center of Lima, and some of them are what we call colonial ones, and other open ones made in wood as well are what we call Republican. Of course, each balcony, according to their period, have even a more truncated name, like we can be even more specific, of course. But the balconies, their intention in the colonial times was adding light into the house, permitting ventilation into the houses. Look at these other ones over here, right? And also be able to permit the owners of the houses to see the streets but not be seen. Because in the colonial times, instead of those open windows you see over there, we used to have gates on the balconies, right? So little gates, tie gates. So the intention was sort of like when you are like seen from inside a car that has tinted glass, right? So you cannot be seen inside, right? But you can see clearly outside. Why? Because in the colonial times, we had also a big bunch of Moors that came to Peru. Remember that Spain was conquered by Arabs, by Moorish Muslims for about 800 years. A big territory of Spain, actually more than even half of the territory of Spain, was conquered by Moors. So the Arab tradition got in the Spanish culture deeply. We're talking about the style, the architectural style, the fashion, for example. So that's why even details like the wooden balconies and women wearing veils in the colonial times became the trend. So here we're going to see some very beautiful souvenirs. This section, by the way, right next to the Church of St. Francis, is the Inca market of downtown Lima. If you ever come to Lima, remember that you have to stop here and support the local economy. We have lots of different products made on alpaca. Most likely, many of these products come from the Andes, not locally made in Lima, but they are all made in Peru. They are all made in Peru, nothing made in China. Right, so we're going to continue. Do you seem to have real tourists around? Yes, yes, Jeannie. We are having little by little reactivation of the economy, but honestly, like before 2020, like let's say in 2019, the number of tourists in this time of the year was 10 times more. Right, we are seeing some tourists. We're seeing also many local people, many locals that are here in downtown Lima. We are also coming to downtown Lima to the Central Market, which is not far away from here. That's why I had a tour earlier to the Central Market. And if you are in the Central Market, maybe you want to, pay a visit to the churches of the historic center. If you're a good Catholic person, you would like to come to the church and pray, and maybe you will go to a restaurant nearby. So we have lots of Peruvians here. We also have tourists indeed, but the numbers of international tourists are not really big in this moment. Although, well, businesses are starting to open, and this is a good indicator that there is some, let's say, economical activity here. Are your churches open free or charge? Michaela, the churches in downtown Lima and in most of the city of the country, let's say, they are open, like for prayers, for free, of course, most of the days of the week. However, there are churches, the most important ones, like cathedral, for example, the cathedrals in different parts of Peru, some churches, like, for example, the Franciscans or the Dominicans, because they are so beautiful, right? So they are sometimes open in some schedules of the week only for tourists, and you have to pay to go inside those in those occasions. If you are not going early in the morning to pray, right? And when you're going to pray, you're not supposed to take cameras, for example, because that means you are not praying. Yeah? You're a tourist, right? So that's why people prefer sometimes to go to the churches, to this type of churches, during the touristic days, pay, and they can take as many pictures as they wish, right? Oh, we have a very interesting thing here. A couple of things that are very interesting. We have here in this section the emblem of UNESCO, right? We have the UNESCO emblem, which you can see everywhere in the History Center. Nothing made in China. Yes, I'm Chinese from Canada. Yes, Helen. Yes, many people. No, please. I don't want to offend anybody. I mean that they are not made in China, because people ask me if these products are made in China. The souvenirs are made in China. I say, no, they are made in Peru. I don't know if in other parts of the world it happens, but I've heard once that, for example, in some parts of Europe, the souvenirs, like for example the Eiffel Tower, they were made in China, right? So in our case, they are made all in Peru. So this house you see here, this is the Casa Bodega y Cuadra. The Casa Bodega y Cuadra is one of the oldest houses we have in the historic center of Lima. It was also occupied by a group of squatters until the early 2000s, when the City Hall of Lima started a project of restoration in this house. And the families that lived here were moved to a different locations. The house started to be investigated, and for example, frescoes like the ones you see over here started to come out after the restoration. This is nowadays a museum. So going also back to the history of the UNESCO downtown Lima, the declaration of UNESCO in this site. Something very important about it is that UNESCO gave to the historic center of Lima, for the purpose of restoration of the historic center, a big sum of money. But I would like to say to start like guessing with you. How much do you think UNESCO gave to the historic center of Lima in 1991 for the restoration and the initiation also of this project of rescuing for rescuing the historic center? Okay, so just give me a number. Remember that UNESCO gave to the Church of the Franciscans 20,000 US dollars, right? So just to give you an idea, okay? So please keep guessing, don't be shy. Here we have another building. This is the Casa de la Literatura Peruana, the House of the Peruvian Literature. It used to be a train station that has been restored, and nowadays is a library. The name of this library, Casa de la Literatura Peruana, is also known as the Estación Desamparados, or the Helpless Ones Station. The Helpless Ones Station refers to an old church that used to be here, the Church of the Helpless Ones. So that's why we keep having, sort of like keeping the name of the original colonial church that was here. Okay, we can see still the hills, the mountains, and we are seeing now the back of the government palace, the house of the president of Peru. So we will keep looking also for a while one of the sides of the house of the president of Peru, and also notice that we don't have a heavy, let's say, police presence here. We don't have militaries outside. We don't have fences. Also, like in other parts of the world, usually the house of the prime minister or the president is heavily protected. It's not the case here in Peru. It doesn't mean we don't have demonstrations, we don't have protests. So we have many of them, but really not. We don't feel the necessity of putting heavy police presence here. So well, now I want to check on the estimates. Let me see. So I have $1 million, says Michaela. Helen says 2 million. Larry 2 million. Helen 10 million. Helen, you are very generous. You should be working in in UNESCO or the United Nations. Gracias. Monica 7 million. Okay, so I think now it's time for me to tell you the exact number. And also, the information I'm sharing with you, it is public. I was able to get this information in the original web page, in the web page, official, it's not original, official web page of UNESCO. Where you can also click by country, the different, and learn about the different UNESCO sites in the world, right? So the final number, the amount UNESCO invested in the project of the creation of the UNESCO heritage site in downtown Lima in 1991 is 48,000 US dollars. So unfortunately, not 10 million, not 7 million. My friends, not even half a million. So yes, Michaela, yikes. Well, the reason, of course, that we see this amount of very little too is because the different times, like, remember, it was 1991. Maybe the money, the value of the money was different back then. Maybe it was like more money back then. But also remember that UNESCO is supporting many different sites every year. They are creating UNESCO sites every year, and they have to study very well, how much they can give. Right? There are even projects that we have asked UNESCO to support. Oh, Richard, muchas gracias. Thanks for your tip support. It helps me a lot, a lot. Muchas gracias, amigo. So I was saying that they had to be careful with the budgets they give, because for example, the City Hall of Lima and the Church of the Franciscans asked UNESCO to, gracias Marilyn, to support the restoration of the Church of Our Madam of the Loneliness. Do you remember the first church we saw that I told you that in 2005 there was a fire and this church was damaged? Maybe you remember about this story, you know that, and we are now, thanks to Pro Lima, restoring it. So we asked UNESCO for support, for Lima asked UNESCO for support, and UNESCO said no, they couldn't afford to restore it. Do you remember that? So that's why since 2005, we were not able to restore this building. And recently, Pro Lima is now restoring it. Gracias, Larry. Thank you. So, what do you think about it, right? Well, every day, as I was saying, UNESCO is creating new sites, and therefore there is money being given, for the restorations of these places, right? So I'm having here a question. I am tucked up in bed. What time is it there? Oh yes, Jeannie. Of course you're in Sussex. That's why you are already in bed. It is. We started this tour at 3:30 p.m. Lima time, right? So I think you are 6 hours ahead of me, more or less. So yes, it's for you time to bed. So thanks for being also with me this late. We are having a beautiful sunny day, 25, 26 degrees Celsius, very warm, as you can see, very sunny. And now we are going to the center of the main square of Lima, which is the zone you are seeing in front of me. Oh, so you are 5 hours more or less ahead of me. Yes, that's right, Ginny. Yes, so it might be in this moment 4:13 Lima time, more or less. So we can see here this lovely plaza. Look at this presence of police here. This is usual, this is normal. This is the traditional asalto police or riot police that we have next to the government palace. The house of the president, our president Pedro Castillo, it lives in this moment in the house, of course, of the president. This is the tradition, with very few exceptions, like with very few presidents, usually military presidents, that decided not to live. Oh, and you hear the bells. Those are the bells rang in the cathedral. So with those few exceptions in our history, our presidents always live in the government palace for a space of 5 years, right? So we are walking in direction to the fountain, to the main fountain of not just the plaza, also the city, because this is the main square. The fountain is the main fountain of Lima. And from here, we can see different buildings. And I'm going to, first of all, give you a 360 of everything, slow, but a 360. And then later, I'm going to tell you the history of each one of these buildings, okay? So first, I'm going to be panning everything slowly, and we will have the chance to have, in a moment, an explanation in detail of each building. So is that Canadian embassy with the Canadian flag on the top? Helen, that is the Peruvian flag. Peruvian flag and Canadian flag are twins almost. They are very alike. You will see the Peruvian flag just in a little while, okay? I'll show you in a moment. So first of all, let's give a look to this church. Remember that we are in a UNESCO zone, a place that also from in the colonial times was a place for rich people, for the wealthy people of Lima, that also got into a decadence after the 1940s, when we had a large migration towards the capital of Peru, and lots of rich people started to move away from the downtown. The poor people were going to live on the hills. Then those abandoned old mansions that were now empty were taken by squatters, and that was all during the period of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s is the time when we became a UNESCO site, and then little by little we started to gentrify the historic center, right? So here we have a beautiful cathedral. And we have over here a wonderful, gracias, Jeannie. Thank you, thank you. We have the Cathedral of Lima, which is the most important church in the city. The Cathedral of Lima has a really curious story. Francisco Pizarro, the conquistador of these territories, the Spanish conquistador, he came from Extremadura in Spain. He traveled all the way, first of all, to Central America, then came to Peru, discovered this territory. He created the first church that eventually turned into the cathedral, a very small church right here in this place, right after he came to Lima in the year 1535. So 1535 is the moment when Pizarro, gracias Caroline, gracias Noreen, January 18, 1535, standing in the middle of this plaza, maybe right next to where I am in this moment, he, in front of the surprised indigenous that were around him that had no idea what was going on because these people were speaking in a strange language, he founded the city of kings, Ciudad de los Reyes. In Spanish, that was the first name of Lima, Ciudad de los Reyes, city of kings. And after that, he walked in direction to where some historians and also specialists in the colonial inscriptions from that period of our history, the chronicles from that period, say that used to be an Inca temple. They said there used to be a temple right here. But Pizarro, well, decided to go to this place, to this location, and he put the first stone for the cathedral that he built first as a very small church. Then another church came. That one is gone also. This one is the third church that we have in this location. Very beautiful. This church is from the 17th century, the year 1649. And the bell towers of the cathedral, can you see that they don't match with the central part? What do you think? Do you think they match? Do you think they are the same style or not? I'm going to move a little bit backward so you can see it better. So let me tell you something. This church has bell towers that don't match with the central section. They look plainer. Yes, they look different, right? The reason is because these towers are about 100 years younger than the center of the church. The original bell towers collapsed after an earthquake in the year 1746. It was so bad. We know that it was a 3 minutes long earthquake. It was a nearly 9 Richter scale earthquake that destroyed the entire city of Lima. So yes, if you believe that you've experienced bad earthquakes in your life, imagine that one of 1746. Terrible. Over here, we have the Archbishop's Palace. This one here, although it looks colonial, it was meant to look colonial, to cheat a little bit. In reality, this one is a 1920s construction. This is from 1924, is a neo-colonial construction. Can you see the wooden balconies over here? Like this, can you see these gates, my friends? It looks like they are like boxes, right? But can you see the little holes? I don't have the zoom, unfortunately, to show you in detail, but I hope you are able to see this. Well, this idea of sort of like tinted glass that I was saying to protect the viewer from inside the balcony, it was also to give protection to the viewer, intimacy, to preserve the intimacy of the house. The colonial houses were extremely introverted houses. They were not meant to be open. You were not supposed to see what was happening inside, right? So that's another case. This yellow house used to be sounds like my kind of yes, Caroline, mine too, honestly, so all the beauty is kept inside, right? Like all the stories, all the fights, everything keeps inside. It's not meant to be open, right, to the public. Introverted houses. Look at this one here, for example. This one is we know it as the first justice palace of Lima. This was the house of the oidor. The oidor was sort of like the judge of the city in the colonial times. So this person was the one who heard the problems of the people and gave solution to the problems of the people here in Lima. Look at this beautiful building over here. This is the house of the president of Peru. This is the government palace, in Spanish, Palacio de Gobierno. And that flag that looks like the Canadian flag, my friends, is the flag of Peru. So we have many things in common with Canada. One of them is the flag. I think also very nice one people, right? And well, we have snow in the Andes. We don't have snow on the sea level. So here you have the flag of Peru and the coat of arms of Peru, which is also here in this section. If you later have the chance of seeing in Google the coat of arms of Peru, you're going to see that it's divided in 3 fields. These fields are or represent the coast, the Andes, and the jungle. So the house of the president of Peru, look at the carriage, very beautiful picture over there. And we have finally in this location the City Hall of Lima. The City Hall of Lima is the office of the mayor of Lima. The City Hall is the one that is running, for example, this Pro Lima project, which is rescuing lots of buildings in the historic center. So it's sort of like the continuation of the dream of UNESCO, the investment of UNESCO, the first, the kick that UNESCO gave us in 1991. You need something local also to continue fighting for it. And this is what downtown Lima's mayor is doing. You can see here the office of the mayor in yellow color. Yellow, by the way, is also the color of the flag of Lima. Can you see the flag over there in the upper part, the yellow one? That is the flag of the city of Lima, my friends. And yellow is a symbolic color. In the colonial times, yellow was also connected with the gold. Lima, as a port city, was a very rich city. Through here, all the gold from the Andes, from the mountains, passed to be put in ships and then sent it to Spain. So Lima was a very wealthy city thanks to that too, because we administrated that wealth, and lots of that wealth also stay in Lima. So Lima had no problems with wealth in the colonial times. So yellow is related with the wealth, and also yellow is related with a flower, a local flower called Amancaes flower, which is endemic from Lima and grows only in the winter season here in the city, which is a really very unusual flower, and we just have it here in Lima. Can you see that? Let's say it looks like a flag, right? Can you imagine what it is? Have you an idea? Yes, Michaela. It is a soccer t-shirt. Yes, it's a gigantic soccer t-shirt, and this is because maybe you noticed that around the world, around especially the most of the countries that love soccer, we have the fever of the World Cup, right? So Peru officially is not in the World Cup, but we are still fighting for getting in because we are in the 5th place. Oh, look at this very, very beautiful picture. In the 5th place in Latin America. That means that the first 4 teams that are on top, they are the ones that go straight to the World Cup, right? Peru is in number 5. So that means that we're going to be playing one more game with an Asian country. We don't know exactly which country to go to the World Cup, right? So cross the fingers for us. I hope we are able to pass. And we have this soccer t-shirt to cheer up our Peruvian team. So in that way, we are going, of course, all together to participate of giving these good energies for Peru to go to the World Cup, right? So here we are coming almost to an end of this tour. This tour has extended a little bit longer than I thought. I hope you enjoy it. The good thing is that the internet connection was stable during the whole tour. I'm so happy for that. Finally, the last thing I want to share with you is a curiosity. Now you can see over there a fountain. Can you see that one, right? This fountain over here. So this fountain you see over there is where the for a long period of time the statue of Pizarro was located. Do you remember the statue of Pizarro at the beginning of the tour? We saw the statue of Pizarro, right? So Pizarro's statue was there. But that was not the first location of the statue. The first location of the statue was, let me show you, over here next to the cathedral. Actually, at the entrance of the cathedral was located the statue of Pizarro. The reason is because Francisco Pizarro rests in the Cathedral of Lima. There is where his tomb is located. It was his last wish. So if you come to Lima, if you visit the Cathedral of Lima, you will be able to visit the tomb of Pizarro. The Cathedral of Lima is a museum. I really hope you enjoyed this tour today, my friend. Thank you, Michaela, for your support. It really means a lot to me. As you know, well, these tours are all free to watch and just tip supported. Your tips are the fuel that helps us to continue doing these tours. Also, my apologies if there are some mistakes in my English or my expressions. English is not my first language. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. You had the chance of learning something new. I am always learning something new for you as well. So I'm so happy that today's second tour went as planned, because we tour guys prepare a lot for these tours. You can tell from what most of the guys do here, and sometimes when the internet doesn't cooperate, it's very, very sad, right? Because you've been preparing and studying, and well, you're not able to do the tours in the way you want to. But I'm going to be bringing very soon my tour dedicated to the Chinatown of Lima. Stay tuned with that, please. Also, Michaela, my friend, has shared my website. Thank you so, so much. I have to mention my friends that are supporting. Gracias. Thank you so, so much, Helen, Paul, Norma. It really means a lot to me. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to keep doing these tours. And also, thanks to your support, Hego continues existing. So, muchas, muchas gracias. If you wish, please follow my Facebook group. It is very easy to join. It is Adventures in Lima with Vanessa. It is an open group, so anyone can join. All my information, my YouTube, my Facebook, my Instagram is in my profile in Hego, in my Hego channel, which also Michaela shared the link, or you can also click on the bottom in the upper part. If you click in the bottom in the upper part, you're going to be following me. If you don't see a bottom follow in the upper part, it's because you already follow me. So, muchas gracias if this was your first tour with me and you are joining. Many more tours are going to come. Next week, I'm going to be cooking at home. So, pray for me that I'm going to be, doing everything right, especially with the internet. Join me. It's going to be a pleasure to have you in my home next week for some tours also. Have a lovely weekend. Lots of love to you all, and best wishes from your friend and guide in Lima, Vanessa. Until next time, take care. Muchas gracias, amigos. A final picture of the historic center of Lima, the cathedral, and the government palace. God bless you all. Thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.